Welcome back to Books and Backbone. I'm Donna Harris, CEO of Bookkeeping Made Simple, your host, and today I'm going to get a little personal. This episode started because something happened to me recently that frustrated me deeply. And when I sat with it long enough, I realized it was a really important lesson for anyone who hires service providers, which is pretty much anyone listening to this. I want to talk about Google reviews. Not how from a here's how to get more 5-star reviews perspective, but from a here's how to actually read them to make better decisions perspective. Because I think people are using Google reviews completely wrong, and it's costing them as consumers real opportunities with really good providers. So here's what happened. I had a prospect, we'll call him a real estate broker because that's what he was, who reached out after finding me through my cold email outreach campaign. He was engaged. He asked smart questions, requested pricing and references. I sent everything same day. He seemed genuinely interested. Then he booked a consultation call and then he canceled it. The reason? My Google reviews. Now I want to be honest with you here because this podcast is called Books and Backbone, and that second word means something. I don't have a perfect rating. I have a 4.3 with 18 reviews. And among those 18 reviews are 3 negative ones. When I looked into those 3 negative reviews, really looked, I couldn't find a single one of those people in my client records. Not one matched any engagement I could locate. One had a last name I didn't recognize at all. One described a situation that didn't match anything in my history. One described behavior that I know with certainty absolutely did not happen. That prospect will never know that. He just saw the 4.3, saw 3 angry reviews, and decided to move on. And I understand that. I really do. We've all done it. But I want to talk about why that decision-making process is flawed and what a better one looks like. Let's start with this. A perfect 5-star review rating is not a green light. It's often a red flag. Think about this statistically. If a business has been operating for more than a year and has served more than 20 clients, the probability of having 0 dissatisfied customers is 0 or nearly 0. Humans are complicated. Expectations don't always match reality. Things go sideways sometimes. It's just business. So when you see a wall of perfect 5-star reviews with no variation, one of a few things is usually happening. One is review gating. The business uses software that asks customers how they feel first. If you're happy, you get a link to Google. If you're not, you get a private feedback form that never sees the light of day. This is actually a violation of Google's terms and conditions. It's also rampant. Friends and family reviews. The business is new. It's reached out to every cousin 12 generations back, and a former coworker, all of their friends to leave a quick 5-star review. These reviews tend to be generic and don't reflect actual client experience. Low volume. They might be great, but they've only served 5 people. A 5.0 with 5 reviews tells you almost nothing about how that business handles scale, stress, or complex problems. I'm an accountant. I work with complex problems. That's the only kind I work with. And in more extreme cases, purchased reviews. You can usually spot these by generic language, profiles that have only ever reviewed one business in their existence. Perfect isn't real. Real is noisy. Real has variety. Real looks like a business that has actually served a wide range of people with a wide range of expectations. So what should you be looking for? A trustworthy review profile usually sits somewhere between 4.3 and 4.8. High enough to indicate consistent quality, low enough to indicate real humans were involved. You want to see a spread of ratings, mostly 5s, maybe some 4s, the occasional 1 or 2. If a business with 50 reviews from 2019, but nothing but 2026 kind of is a yellow flag. You want to see recent activity. You want to see specificity. Real customers mention names, describe specific situations. They talk about what actually happened. The 4-star reviews are often the most honest ones. People who give 4 stars tend to be thoughtful. They're saying this was genuinely good, and here's one thing that could have been better. That's useful information for me as the business owner. When you see a negative review, don't close the tab. Read it critically. You're looking for the difference between an outlier and a pattern. Some negative reviews tell you more about the reviewer than the business. If someone's angry about something the business couldn't control, or the complaint is purely emotional with no specific facts, that's a signal about the person who left it, not about the business. Some negative reviews describe a real service failure. If someone says a project took 3 weeks longer than promised, that's a real complaint. If you see it once in 50 reviews, it's an outlier. Everyone has a bad month. If you see it 5 times, now it's starting to look more like a broken process. That's when you should start to worry about it. Some negative reviews describe a wrong fit. Someone bought the wrong thing. They were unhappy with the outcome for reasons that were really about mismatched expectations. Read the review and ask yourself, is this person's experience reasonable? Kind of as an example, in a previous business I worked with, some background. If you have a single owner LLC and you're preparing your taxes, it does not go on a separate tax return. It goes on Schedule C of the 1040. And that means that in order to do business taxes, I would have to do the personal taxes as well. I had a client that was actually angry about this because someone in a business that outsources to me or refers to me but doesn't know anything about accounting had told her, yes, you can just do your business taxes. And when I said, no, you're a single owner LLC, that goes on your personal taxes, she got angry. So maybe they're operating off of bad information and they're not willing to accept coaching. Or maybe sales told them something that has nothing to do with reality. That does happen. But what you're looking for is a pattern versus an outlier. 1 negative review in 20 is math. 5 negative reviews in 20 is a pattern. Those are different things. And here's the part that most people don't know. And the part that matters most to what happened to me. Google doesn't verify that a reviewer was actually a client of the business they were reviewing. Any Google account can leave a review for any business for any reason. A competitor, a disgruntled person who had a bad interaction that had nothing to do with the actual service. Someone who confused the business with another one of the same name or a similar name. Someone with a personal grievance that has nothing to do with the quality of the work. That's what happened to me. When I looked at those 3 negative reviews on my profile, really looked, I searched my records, I tried to match names to engagements. I couldn't find a single one of those people as a client. Not one. Now I want to be careful here. I'm not saying every negative review is fake. I'm not saying that as a universal defense for every business it has. Sometimes businesses can earn their negative reviews. Sometimes clients have legitimate complaints. What I am saying is that the system has no verification mechanism, which means you can't take a negative review at face value any more than you can take a 5-star review at face value. You have to read it carefully and you have to read the response. Because here's what I've learned. When a business responds to negative reviews by calmly noting that they have no record of that person as a client, pay attention to that. It tells you the business tracks their client relationships carefully enough to know the difference. That's the signal of an organized professional operation. This is the most important thing I'm going to say in this episode. When you see a negative review, look at the owner's response. That response tells you more about the business than the review itself. A professional, calm, solutions-oriented response is a massive green flag. It tells you that if you have a problem, this business will acknowledge it and try to fix it. A business that attacks reviewers publicly, gets defensive, or starts arguing, run the other way. And here's something I've learned from my own experience. Early in my business, when I got negative reviews that felt unfair, I responded from a place of frustration. I'll be honest about that. I was direct, personal failing of mine. I was defensive. I said things that were true but didn't serve me well publicly. I've since updated those responses because I realize that whoever reads them isn't reading my defense. They're reading my character. And I want my character to be professional, measured, and confident, not reactive. The response is your public character on display. Own it. Let me give you a simple framework. I call it the ratio rule. If a business has 20 reviews and 2 are negative, that's a 10% dissatisfaction rate. In the real world, especially in a profession as personal and complicated as accounting, 10% of people are either having a bad day or have mismatched expectations or are simply impossible to please. If the other 18 reviews are glowing and describe a consistent positive experience, the business is likely excellent. Don't let the 10% statistical reality scare you away from a 90% success rate. Now, here are the red flags that actually matter. And I want to name them clearly so you know what to ask, what to watch for. The first one, silence. A business that never responds to any reviews, positive or negative, shows a lack of engagement that should concern you. Identical failures. If 3 different people in the last 3 months all describe the same specific problem, lost documents, missed deadlines, ghosting after payment, believe them. That's a broken process, not a mistake. Dishonesty or fraud. Any review that credibly describes unethical behavior, hidden fees, or being charged for work not done, take that seriously. Review bursts. If a business goes from 10 reviews to 60 reviews in a single week and they all look generic, those are bot reviews. That's a breach of trust. The next time you're evaluating a service provider, a bookkeeper, an attorney, a contractor, anyone, here's the framework I encourage you to use. Don't filter for perfect. Filter for real. A 4.2 with 40 reviews is more informative than a 5.0 with 5 reviews. Read the 4-star reviews first. They're usually the most honest. Read the negative reviews critically and ask yourself, does this describe a pattern or an outlier? Is this complaint about something the business could control? Does the reviewer sound reasonable? And then read the responses. The way a business handles public criticism is the way they will handle your problems if something goes sideways. That's valuable information. The prospect who canceled on me, I hope he found a good bookkeeper. I genuinely do. But I also hope at some point someone helps him understand that the 4.3 he saw represented 14 glowing 5-star reviews from real named clients and 3 reviews I couldn't match to any client in my records. Context matters. The stars don't tell the whole story. The story does. A business that's transparent about feedback, even the messy bits, is a business that operates with integrity. They're not hiding behind a curated perfect image. They're showing up, doing the work, and dealing with the reality of serving real people. That's what I try to be. And I know I'm not perfect. No business is. No person is. But I know my work, I know my clients, and I know the difference between a fair critique and a review that doesn't belong on my profile. If you're looking for a bookkeeper or an accountant you can trust, one who values accuracy and transparency above all else, I would love to talk. Find me at mysimplebookkeeping.com. Consultation's free. And I promise I will tell you the truth about your books, even when the truth is uncomfortable. I'm Donna Harris. This is Books and Backbone. Thanks for listening.